I mean, let's be honest. How many of you feel like you're super connected to God right now? How many of you would say that you feel connected to your church? I bet a lot of us, if we be really honest today, we feel totally disconnected from our church families. Because we're not allowed to, or this or that. Listen, we can argue all the garbage, but at the end of the day, we're disconnected. And because we're disconnected, we stop engaging. Well, I want to encourage you today that I think it's time for us to reconnect. And we need to do it any means possible. Now, I don't mean defying law and all that other stuff, but I mean seriously, how can we utilize what we have to reconnect? We need to reconnect with each other. We need to reconnect with our churches. I ain't just talking about our church. I'm talking about your church. Man, if you're watching this and you're from another church, you need to reconnect and engage in that church. Get signed up for an e-group. Start talking to people. Get on the phone. Get on Messenger. But use the things that we proclaim, that we say this can connect us. Well, then use it to connect you. And if it's not, then don't use it and try something else. But we need to reconnect. Somebody say reconnect. We need to reconnect to God. We need to reconnect to our churches. We need to reconnect to our families. Listen, I'm going to tell you two things. There's two things that the enemy wants to do. And it's right up this alley. See, if he can distance you, then he can disconnect you. If he can distance you, he can disconnect you. You know how I know that? You see, in the very beginning, when in the Garden of Eden, when the serpent went to tempt Adam and Eve, he didn't outright tell them if to do something. He brought in questions. He started to get in and make a gap between man and God. And he further distanced the gap, pushing man away from God by getting man to follow him and listen to him and doubt what his connection was with God. See, some of you don't even understand that the devil is creating distance in your life, and that distance is going to lead to destruction. The farther the enemy is able to distance you, listen, he doesn't have to defeat you. He just has to distance you. I think we need to stop letting the enemy divide us. Listen. We need to stop letting the enemy divide us from God, divide us from the connection we have with our Creator, and we need to stop letting the enemy divide us from each other. Man, look around you. I honestly, I see nothing but division. Titles, labels, this side, that side. It's sickening. You don't think that's the devil's handiwork? Well, distance removes you enough to disconnect you. And some of you need to close the distance between you and God now. Some of you need to close the distance between you and your spouse. Some of you need to really work on closing that gap between you and your church, or you and your friends. Closing the gap.